Hello everybody, my name is Andrew and I have a channel called ChessDiagnostic where I regularly put out videos covering chess tactics and strategy, multiple playlists with sometimes 10 to 28 videos. I'm actually working on a course right now called 28 Days to Master Level Chess Tactics. I'm going to show you a small clip of a course I put out some years ago called 28 Days to Better Chess Tactics covering the checkmating patterns. Hello and welcome to day 12/part 12 of 28 Days to Better Chess Tactics. Today I'm not going to be presenting specific tactical positions, but I'm going to go over the 34 most common checkmate patterns. All the basic ones. We're going to go through them in quick succession so you can see every single pattern that occurs most often in chess games. And of course these are good to know because if you're trying to solve a tactic or you're looking for a tactic, a lot of times these patterns will pop in your brain if you've seen them before of how to finish off the opponent. Alright, the first one's name is the Anastasia's mate. I think I'm saying that correctly. It's basically where the knight is controlling these two squares and the rook comes in and delivers a checkmate. Now, I'm simplifying all these positions just so you get the basic pattern. But a lot of times this will occur when the queen sacrifices itself on this square, the king takes it, and then the rook comes in, and because these squares are covered, it's checkmate. Alright, moving on to position 2. This checkmate is known as Anderson's mate, and it's where the pawn supports a rook checkmate along the last file or rank, depending on where the king is. And it goes like rook to h8 checkmate. As you see, of course, the pawn has to be supported either by a piece, and here it's the king, but this is the pattern that you'll see frequently when you're playing an endgame. To finish out this video, I'd like you to pause the video a moment and just check out this position and think, would you take with the bishop or the knight? You can see if we go back one move that white played knight to g5 attacking the f7 square, and the bishop comes in to interpose. In master level games, there's normally multiple choices, and it's very helpful to see what they do. Alright, so in this position, the bishop took instead of the knight. Obviously that bishop on c4 was very powerful, but after the pawn takes, after knight from d to e4 and a queen trade, then this monster knight is going to give his opponent complete endgame torture because this bad bishop is completely blocked in with his pawns. Now in my strategy course, I do cover the one fundamental idea of chess, and if you want to know what that is, I suggest that you check out my channel and check out the first video in that course. To finish out this game, let's just keep moving here and I'll make some points along the way. So the rook goes from f to d and the kings are going to be centralized. Now we see c4 locking in these dark square pawns. Now normally in an endgame, when you have a better minor piece that's fixed in place than your opponent, you also have to work on creating weaknesses. And we see Alekhine go along doing that. He doesn't want to trade rooks. Now a4 is actually not just to prevent b5, which black wouldn't want to play anyway. For example, if you played b5, you take, and then he does have these two weaknesses anyway. But it's actually to play a5. And now his main strategy in the endgame is to create multiple weaknesses. Now, in the endgame you can take your time, but you have to spend time creating pawn weaknesses for your opponent. And now after takes, this b6 pawn, these pawns are weak, and this bishop is very weak. It only has two squares to move. So he switches to the a file, starts to invade, and then he just terrorizes his opponent and completely locks everything in place. His king didn't really need to go over, but he just keeps moving. He comes back, and then we see eventually g5, locking in that bishop, bringing his king to e4 to now attack the pawns, rerouting the knight, and now black has absolutely nothing to do. It's just complete nightmarish torture. Now, a strong knight against a bad bishop can give your opponent nightmares for sure. So after some more moves, eventually he gets a double attack, wins the pawn, and actually the game is all over because his opponent resigned. It's too weak. He's going to win more pawns the king will come in and it's just too late. A very instructional positional endgame by Alekhine in the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something, and I look forward to seeing you on my channel. Thanks for doing this, Antonio.